So we talked a lot about evaluating an agent. When you're having that conversation with a potential client that you want to offer on,
Mhm.
what kind of things are you evaluating?
I'm evaluating their openness to revision. I'm evaluating their openness to ideas and collaboration. Publishing is a very collaborative group activity. It's never just your thoughts on something, and you have to give up a lot of control along the way, good or bad. Part of you wanting to get published is like turning over your book to somebody else and letting them decide how to publish it. It's not up to you. So, making sure someone's a team player, that they can roll with the punches, that they are rational, thinkers. We always say writers are all a little bit crazy. And I don't mean that in, a weird ableist way. I mean that in like the quirky kind of way. Writers are quirky. Like they're making up stories all the time. So like there's like voices in their heads chattering.
I make that excuse for myself and other writers I know. That,
Right.
Hey, half my brain is in another world.
Right. Like I'm not really here. What are you talking about? But just making sure someone is ready for what's coming. Because I really like to think of what I'm doing as it's a team effort. Like I'm a partner in the process. I'm not the boss. Like the client's actually the boss, although they are handing over a certain amount of control to me to be there to act on their behalf, to send books out, to who to send them to, how to pitch something, how to frame it, how to negotiate it. So they need to trust me. But they also I like people who are proactive and feel like they want to be part of the process and have the information. But just that there's a good give and take between us in terms of opinion and control, and everyone's giving it a good faith effort, and there's not like sometimes I think a lot of that comes down to communication style, like making sure someone's a clear communicator. They can tell me what they need and what they want, and I can address it accordingly. In the times where I've let clients go or they've let me go, it's mostly come down to communication breakdown. Like at some point, one or both parties was no longer able to say certain things to each other. Like, do you like this? What's our next step? And like any other relationship, if once that goes, like, you're not probably in a very good place. So that's the most of it. I like to enjoy my clients too. So some of it's just like getting to know them, and is it a fun chat? Like, are they someone I want to talk to? Because I'm going to have to talk to them a lot. Like I do talk to my clients a lot. Like some people are phone people, some people are email people, but there's a lot of contact. So like you want to enjoy that. And yeah, just like being excited for their ideas. Like, where do they want to go with the world? Like what's next for them? What are they excited about writing about? That kind of thing.
What have you ever had an hour and a half conversation with somebody where you were considering offering representation and they shot themselves in the foot during the conversation, and you backed off and said, nope, this isn't for me?
Yeah, I have. And in those cases, it was someone who just had too many pokers in the fire, so to speak. Like they had a lot of projects in a lot of different categories that were already kind of like on submission. Like someone who'd sent picture book manuscripts in middle grade and YA out to a lot of small presses and were querying multiple projects simultaneously. And I just was kind of like, oh God, that's a lot of cleanup for me to do, because there was no strategy involved with it. It was a very like spaghetti at the wall approach. And I can understand writers wanting to like, hedge their bets and, diversify and see if they can get something through. But it spoke to me of a lack of focus and a lack of patience. And maybe not even knowing which was the best thing, like which was the thing they should focus on. And I also, like part of me doesn't want to have to come into it and like clean up messes. I don't want, like, that's a hard thing to start with. Like the way the system is kind of structured is you pitch me a project and it's like your best thing. And that's the thing we start with. And then we go from there. But like when someone comes to me with a thing and I think this is their best thing, but it turns out that they've got a bunch of stuff in like 10 other places, then I'm like, I don't know what to make of them. You know, I don't know what to make of where their head is. And it made me nervous. Like, it just made me wonder, like, how I would put this person on a path to get them published effectively. So that one didn't work out.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
If just for anybody who's listening says, I have a lot of things, a lot of pokers on the fire, and they come to you, how can they convey that they're willing to focus, that they'll put those other things down to help with the cleanup?
Well, I don't know. I think a lot of that has to happen before you decide to query a book. You know, I don't blame, writers should totally have lots of projects going if they want to. I mean, I'm not looking to stifle anybody's creativity. But you also, part of being good is like self-editing. You can't rely on someone else to totally structure everything for you and edit you. Like, you should have a gut instinct for what your best work is right now. And or even just the thing you're most passionate about right now. Because that other piece of publishing is, I've always found that the best books come out of people who really love what they're writing. You know, like, you don't get good books out of people who are tired of something or feel like they have to write something. You know, like, the best books come out of the authors who are the most passionate about that subject or that story. So if someone's got so many things out there, like, it's hard for me to know what they love. And no matter what, like, you have to start with one project. So, you know, I just think people need to, that's part of why having a network, having a critique group, having friends, you know, so you're not in a silo, you're not alone, you know, and that you get like, it allows you to process, like, what am I producing that's better than other things? Where should I focus my efforts? I do think a lot of that should happen before you start looking for an agent, because I think that helps you mature and get to the place of being ready for publication. So
yeah, I 100% agree. I run a fiction critique group here locally. We go for 5 weeks, and somebody brings in their manuscript that they're working to finish. Like, oh my gosh, I'm almost to the halfway point of this manuscript, and you've got a website full of literary agents. I'm going to start firing off courses. Like, no, don't do that. Yeah. Give it a year, 2 years. Maybe wait till your second book, because you're learning still.
Yeah, I mean, I really think almost all of my authors queried another book before the one I signed. Like, almost all of them. Because, you know, everyone you learn, like, you're just better on the second book or the third book. And that's good. You know, like, everyone thinks that means you failed somehow on the first thing. It's like, everyone's failed at some point. Like, that's okay. The real artists are people who can make something and throw it out because they know the next thing they make will be better. You know, like, how many paintings of the cathedral did Monet paint? Like, hundreds of them, you know, just painted the same thing over and over again until it got to where he wanted it to go. So writing has to be the same way.
Unfortunately, God knows I've got shelf books that I love so much, and they're just going to stay right there on the shelf.
Yeah, it's hard. It's okay. Like, sometimes you just have to be at peace with the process. Like, the books, you know, just because they didn't get published doesn't mean they weren't worth writing. Like, the goal of every book isn't to be published. Like, the goals of some books are, like, the writing act in and of itself, because writing, you know, books are a publicly shared form of entertainment. Like, we think that in order for it to be worthwhile, someone else has to read it. But writing is also just self-expression and a fun exercise for each person. Like, it's something we can do for ourselves just as much as something we want to share with other people.
No, I 100% agree. I was having that very conversation with another author who was asking me about money. Like, this series sells a little better. This series sells a little bit worse. Right. But that book helped me mend my broken heart.
Right.
And you can't tell me that's not some compensation worth considering.
Exactly.